is Jenna. I'm here to cover with you guys today the December 2023 roundtable. So closing out our year here. So today we're going to be talking about picking a product, and this is relevant for those of you that are already live on Amazon and you have your product. And then for those of you guys that maybe you haven't, maybe you're trying to narrow it down, you're trying to, find that right fit. So I'm going to go through our 11 rules of picking a product. I'm going to just go ahead and breeze through them. And then throughout the presentation, I'm going to get a little bit more in depth with you guys on what we mean, how do you find that information, all that good stuff. So the first is that the number one seller on Amazon needs to be selling at least 100,000 per month at a minimum. The second rule is that the number 10 seller on Amazon needs to be selling at least 30,000 per month on Amazon. And then also the seller on Amazon must have at least 500 reviews. Okay, so those are the top 3 rules right there. And then you can find at least one way to make your version of the product unique and significantly better than 99% of your competitors. So that's really important, making sure you can differentiate. The price point needs to be at least between $9.99 and $150. Repeat purchase product capabilities. Examples of this would be coffee, supplements, vitamins. That's just a really big bonus if you have that capability. You can clearly define and imagine who your ideal customer avatar is and how you, and if they would be proud to share your product and it's a fit for them. Smaller and lighter is always best. It's better than bigger and heavier. So really important you're considering this when you are picking your next product or your first product. You can think of at least 5 other products that complement this product and would serve the same customer and fit under your brand. You want to avoid low price commodities, such as things like paper clips, bananas, anything that is easy to source, but then also has really, really tight margins. So you want to have high margins of at least 50%. This would mean your price minus cost of goods sold, roughly price estimating from the supplier is fine. And then minus your Amazon fees and shipping fees. So typically price should be at around 4 to 6 times the COGS amount is generally what we see work. Lead time from a supplier is less than 90 days. This is definitely important for Amazon, especially as we make our way towards Chinese New Year. So super, super important. Chinese New Year coming up in February. And then also the last rule is just low legal liability or infringement issues. That includes patents and trademarks. And these are really the 11 rules. So let's go ahead and break those down just from a simple perspective. And then also just how do we get this information? So the first rules we're going to break down are those first 3, which are number 1 seller needs to be doing at least 100,000 on Amazon. Number 10 has to be doing at least 30,000. And then number 10 has less than 500 reviews. So why do we pick these numbers? So based off of our experience, based on our time on Amazon, what we have found is that this shows that there is a demand for these products on Amazon, but there is lower competition than you would normally see on Amazon. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, where you've got that demand, but maybe you have less competition. Now, one thing I will say, guys, is the goal should not be to get all the sales in a category. That's just not going to happen. Even Starbucks, right? They don't have all of the sales on Amazon for coffee. So it's just not realistic. What we're basically trying to tell you guys is that we want the market big enough so that if you get a piece of the pie, that piece of the pie is worth it. Okay, so that's basically what we're looking at right now. So how do you find this information? So Jungle Scout is our main way of finding these specific answers, and I'm going to walk through what that looks like. There's also Helium 10, manual searches for those of you guys that are not using any type of software or anything like that. And then of course, any of the AI programs like ChatGPT would be an example where basically you can rely on them to come up with ideas and things like that. So what does Jungle Scout look like? So I'm going to go ahead, and I have a screen over here on the side. So if I go ahead and shift over there, that's what's going on. So I have a Jungle Scout pulled up here for you guys, and I actually filtered it out so that the monthly revenue for the top is showing right there, and then it goes down from there. Now you'll notice that the numbers are different. So like this person for this specific search is number 39. And the reason why they're selling so much and they're ranked number 39 is because they aren't the exact product. So what I did to get this Jungle Scout is search beef cheek chews for dogs. That's what I searched. So you can see here that these are actually yak chews. So that just shows you yak chews probably a little bit more in demand, but then also they are relevant in this category. So you want to be paying attention to that. Now, like I said, I searched it for monthly revenue. So you can see that these numbers are not necessarily in order. Okay. So our first rule is the number one seller doing at least $100,000 on Amazon? So you can see right here that this one is showing as number one, but you can also notice it's got the ad, right? So one thing to keep in mind, especially when you're using Jungle Scout, is you've got to pay attention for that ad symbol. So generally I like to look at more so the not top 10, okay? So you can see here, there is a lot of sales for this specific product. A couple of other outliers to consider. Again, Jungle Scout, they do their best with what they've got, but you have to consider other things like how many units are in each box. Is it the exact product, right? We just looked at the yak chews. So there's things like that you want to consider. But ultimately, you can see here, there is definitely a demand in this category. And then you can also see that, yes, the top guy is doing $500,000 per month. But then you can see down here, where was number 10? I saw them earlier. Let's do it this way so it's faster. And then number 10, okay, there we go. So number 10 was doing the 6,000. So again, guys, with this rule, even right now, I'm kind of breaking it, right? Where I'm like, okay, like the number 10 is technically doing only 6,000. But if I look at this right here, there's absolutely at least 10 sellers that are doing that over $30,000, and it does dwindle down so that it is competitive and there is space in the market. But one thing I'll say about these rules is ultimately you need to pick and choose which ones you follow in a sense, right? Because these are guidelines, these are things that we are suggesting, but it's definitely not a perfect science as you're seeing right here, right? So ultimately that's what we're looking at. And then you also want to go ahead and look at the number of ratings. So you can see the rating number. This is actually showing their star rating. And then if you go over here to the side, it says number of ratings. So you can see that right here, they've got 1,500 and then it goes down from there. So honestly, in terms of what we have available, these ratings, yes, they're high, but ultimately Amazon, especially those that have been on the platform for a very long time, you're going to see this in most categories. So the fact that the highest is at 7,000 is actually not too bad. And it's something that I do believe you guys could compete with down the line. So that's how the Jungle Scout would work. Like I said, those are guidelines that aren't always perfect, but that's basically what we've seen work is kind of those numbers as a good guideline. So if you ever have any questions on your specific guidelines, you guys can just let us know, okay? So moving on to breaking down the product. So this is addressing the following rules. So you can find at least one way to make your version unique. The price point's between $9.99 and $150. There's repeat purchase power and then smaller and lighter. So why are we recommending all of these things? So the first is that at the end of the day, it's very hard to come up with a product that nobody is selling. That does not exist out there, right? So what we always recommend is for those products that are similar to yours, we need to find a different way to stand out because we need to get that competition away from our competitors and steal that traffic, okay? That's the idea. So that's kind of step one, is just making sure that you are able to make your product different so you can stand out. Now, the second is the price point. The reason why we recommend that price is because we want you guys to be able to be competitive. So I do recommend when you are looking at your competition, you should be breaking it down. What are they priced at? What are they priced at per unit? For those of you that are selling maybe in the supplement space, different things like that, we want to be taking a look at and making sure we're being competitive. Now, at the same time, the reason we're saying $9.99 and $150 is because generally speaking, when we're in that space, you're able to still use promotions, make room for PPC, all of that good stuff. So that's just what we've seen, but that's also not a perfect science, right? Because we have to consider your COGS and all of that. So that's just what we've seen, but you can adjust that rule based off of the cost of goods that you guys personally have. Now, repeat purchase product, again, not a set rule. This isn't something that everybody is able to do. So what I would say is, if for whatever reason this just doesn't work for you guys, like maybe if you're in the apparel space or accessories or whatever, that doesn't make much sense, right? And that's okay. But generally, especially for those of you guys that are developing your brands or changing up your brands, we always recommend at least taking a look at repeat purchase products, just because those tend to do better. You're able to have a higher cost per acquisition because those customers should continue to come back and be lifetime customers. Now, smaller and lighter. So this is a big one just because Amazon fees are very important, and it's definitely really challenging to get around those. Obviously, that they are what they are, they can change. So it's really important that the smaller you can make your product and the lighter you can make your product, the better. So that's what we would recommend from that standpoint. But ultimately, again, not a perfect science, but this is just what we've seen work best. So if you're maybe hitting 6 out of these 11 rules or 7 out of these 11 rules, I think you're in a good spot. So moving on to just breaking down your brand and vision. So we always want brands to stay away from just creating products that don't go together, that don't make sense for their avatar, all of that good stuff. Because what we've seen is that with lack of brand awareness, with the lack of just that accountability, it's very hard to scale on Amazon, just in general. So here are the rules that apply to that. So you can clearly define and imagine your ideal customer. That customer would be proud to share your products on social media, at a party, whatever. You can think of at least 5 other products that complement this product and would serve the same customer, avoiding low price commodities. And then you can find products with competitors selling significant revenue while having a bad or low review, right? So these are the rules we're going to have applying. Now, what I would say is building up a loyal fan base is key to growing your revenue on Amazon. You know, it used to be a long time ago that you could just find some products on Alibaba, put them up on Amazon and make a good chunk of money. But the reality is now it's all about the brand, and brand owns a lot of power on Amazon. So to build up your loyal fan base, you know, we would recommend using things like Amazon Storefront, Amazon Post, customer engagement, brand tailored promotions. And the idea is that you are reaching your avatar, you're reaching that audience that is key to being successful. Okay. Now, being a one product show on Amazon is very challenging. I think ultimately it's a lot of brands start out with just one, but the ultimate goal should be to branch out and have at least 5 other products that are going with that product. And the reason why we do that, right, is because if you build up that brand loyalty, you should be able to rely on those former customers to come back and purchase your product again or products like it. Okay. So super important to have that, you know, crossover as much as you can, just because ultimately that's how you can scale. That's how you can grow. Okay. And then, you know, as we mentioned on the previous slide, Amazon fees can be a doozy. So super important to avoid those low price commodities, so that way you have the margins to survive off of Amazon. Okay. So, you know, ultimately you can pick the most perfect product ever, but if you're not setting your brand up for success, it's going to be hard to scale on Amazon. So this is something we preach all the time. It's something we talk about in our coaching calls and everything like that. You want to make sure there's an external audience built. It's very hard nowadays to just launch onto Amazon without that external help. So you want to make sure you have something built out to be able to help with that startup on Amazon. Now, additionally, you want to have clear branding established. So that would be brand colors, fonts, messaging, all of that good stuff. You want to make sure you have that organized. So that way, when you launch on Amazon, it all looks the same, it all looks beautiful, and it's consistent when it comes to building up that brand recognition. Clear product description. So making sure you have a clear understanding of your product, your avatar, all of that. You want to make sure that is all crystal clear going into your launch on Amazon or going into your catalog expansion. Social media setup. This does not have to be perfect, along with the website built. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you definitely want to have that recognition so that once people start recognizing your brand, they're picking it up, they're able to follow you on social media, they're able to keep up with you. So that way, when you do launch new products, when you do have new things coming through the pipeline, they are aware of it.